to a lot of you guys about what is it you need, what does it want, you know, from this networking group, and always skills, always resume, that kind of thing. And that kind of thing can also be found on Google or whatever. But you can't always find Hope. And so our speaker tonight is the founder of Hope Provides, and she's also a career coach. So she's bringing it all to us tonight. So no pressure for you. And I just want to read this scripture from Jeremiah. For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you hope and a future. And we all have hope and a future. And I hope that tonight that you leave here with hope. So without further ado, Amanda, thank you. Such a broad day anyway. Hello. I'm starting to see all.
All right, so thank you so much. I'm going to kind of start out and I'll just kind of give you a little bit of background so you can kind of see the portfolio of life experiences and so forth. And then I'm going to kind of, you know, jump into a lot of my coaching and what that looks like, and what my process is, and kind of what the foundation is for all of it. I'm going to, and you know, there's so much, and I want to definitely value this time and everything. So I'm going to keep it brief. But with my background, I was born north of Chicago, DuPage County Hospital. I don't know if everybody wants all those details. And then at the age of 12, I moved to the state of Maine. So I lived in Down East Maine, and we were like the Downeistas, is what you referred to us as, okay? And I went to a high school. There was about 375 total in the high school. That was a combination of 5 towns. But it was a fantastic experience. Absolutely loved it. I wouldn't have traded it for the world. I raked blueberries to earn money for school clothes. So we go out in the blueberry barrens, you had a rake, and you just went through and did that. My very first job, I was 13, and I cleaned the house for this elderly lady. She was fantastic. She was 80 years old and did her first African safari. I just thought she was amazing. She was a retired educator. She taught at universities in Boston. She was just phenomenal. So I learned so much from her. I learned I cleaned her entire house. I brushed her cats. I mean, there was anything she wanted, I did it. But it was a great experience where I learned, you know, to do it right. You know, I was a kid. I was 13. I was cutting corners. I'm going to admit it. And she was like, no, you're going to do it right. You don't ever cut corners. It'll come back on you. So she would make me do things over on the floor and this. So I finally got in such a habit between 13 and 18, because that's how long I worked with her, that it stuck with me and it carried on to every job I ever had. I also worked for Worcester Wreath Company, and they founded, Karen and Laurel Worcester founded Wreaths Across America. So this was their little baby, and so we decorate Christmas wreaths. So there's all these different little jobs I had, and I loved it. And it was just so much fun. And then I loved to sing. So I'd perform at county fairs, and I did weddings and anything I could possibly find. It was super fun. So I got this idea at 18 that I'm going to move to Nashville and I'm going to be a superstar in no time, right? Okay. Then I found out everyone thinks that. So I lived out of my car for a while, and everything I owned was in these giant garbage bags in the back of the car. And I always hated trying to find an outfit because I'm digging back there, trying to find stuff. And you'd get to know people and they'd say, hey, I moved out of my apartment early. Do you want the floor? Okay. So you'd sleep on the floor. And so, you know, a lot of adventures, but again, I wouldn't trade that. I got to meet some fantastic people. I sang at Barbara's with Tim McGraw before he had just gotten signed to Curb, and got to hang out with him, and he was super nice. And so Allison Krauss, I mean, had a great time. I just wouldn't trade it. Okay, here I go. I keep going. So then I got into the travel industry. And so I did travel, and I did that for a while, and that was super fun because I love to travel. It was just such a great experience. And then 9/11, travel industry. So it was totally different. I'll never forget that day for so many reasons. So started work in customer service at Dollar General Corporation. And that was again, fantastic experience, because even if some jobs are challenging and there's different things to it, there's always something to learn from them all. So always like, okay, you know, maybe I didn't get to use all my skill sets or what have you, but what did I learn? What did I walk away from? Then from there, I started my HR career, which I did for 17 years. So I became dispute resolution. Somebody gave me an opportunity. And so I handled anything from, terminations, wrongful terminations, they were disputing those, to failed drug tests, things like that. So it was a great experience. I did that for a while. It still wasn't the fit, still wasn't what I truly, truly wanted. But again, learned so much. Then someone came up to me in church and said, I am leaving the Salvation Army to go be with my grandchild. You want my job? And it was that exactly how that conversation went. And so I started with the Salvation Army. I was there 10 years as their HR manager. And I ran their Angel Tree program for 10 years and launched their social media and was the office manager. So and that's how, a lot of times nonprofit, you become a Swiss Army knife and you kind of carry a bunch of different roles. But again, what I learned from that, learning social media, learning HR, making the mistakes. These were just fantastic experiences. From there, got into production home building. I was ready to learn even more about HR. I really enjoyed HR. So I got production home building, did even more talent, you name it. Then my last job working for someone else was at FedEx Logistics. Fantastic experience. There was 4,000 employees within the facility. I was the business partner for those 4,000. And then we had a human resources associate. Great experience. Tornadoes came through, our facility was level. The good news is it's such a God thing. There were 38 people in that building, 38 walked out at that time. We actually had a retired military guy in there as our ops. He knew exactly, he got him in there, got him in where they needed to be. It was quite an ordeal. Thank God for it. We had to work out of 2 or 3 different trailers. It was I worked out of a what do you call it, shipping crate. And so, it was a shipping crate, and we had, porta johns that we used outside as we built out this brand new facility. It was gorgeous by the time I got done, but those were hard, challenging times. And again, it's like, oh my gosh, but okay, what can I pull from this? What can I learn from this? What am I getting from this? And then at that point, I was getting my master's and finishing organizational leadership. And I was like, okay, I just felt this calling. I was like, what is the thing I most love? And it's coaching. I've always loved coaching. I've coached, whether it's a division president, to construction manager out in the field, whether it's Salvation Army, it was people coming in, we would do intake and I would talk through them and say, okay, so you're looking for work, and asking questions and that type of thing. So it was my favorite part about it. So I was like, okay, now's the time. I actually want to have my own coaching business. My timing's interesting. I mean, I chose the pandemic, it just kicked off. So why not, right? Let's just launch this building this business while this is all happening. But it was, and I'll refer to it periodically as a God thing, and I'll say it over and over because it is. It's not by my hand or talent. It's strictly by him and what he's orchestrated, and he puts it in my path. And it's just been an incredible journey. And the timing was right. He said, all right, you can do it. Because there's a few times I wanted to go now. And I was like, oh, now's the time. And he was like, no, it's not the time. And then finally I woke up and he said, okay, now's the time. You can go for it. And I had been planning, and I had gone through all what you need to do from a legality standpoint, my website, everything else, and got it up and running. And, it's challenging at first. You're building your business, right? There's a lot of people out there that do career coaching. What's going to make you different? What's going to stand out? I think for me, and that's why I went with Hope Provides, because at the end of the day, yes, I want to utilize my HR. I want to utilize best practices and resources that I have, things that I've learned over the course of time, what's worked, what hasn't. But I also want to give people hope. I want first and foremost for them to know what masterpieces they are, because they are. Every single person in this room, everybody over there, everybody is a unique masterpiece. And the way that you do your work is unique to only you. Your perspective, the way you approach it, no one else is going to do it like that. And I like to be able to shine a light on that, and and reveal it and have you speak it and see it for yourself, how amazing you are. So that's kind of my process and how I work. First and foremost, I want you to realize and to know this. The second thing is unpacking those talents that you do have, those transferable skills. If you're wanting to change a career, okay, what are those skills that you have? For a long time, I volunteered with veterans, and helping them identify those transferable skills. They're coming out of the military, they're using terms and different things a lot of people don't understand. How can you translate that into things that they can? You know how to run a battalion or a squad, or so that's management, it's team collaboration, it's leadership. You're very tech savvy. I mean, technology, you're resilient, you're adaptable. So it's all these types of things, but I do it with absolutely everybody. And I love the light bulb going off, right? You're like, oh, I forgot, I do know how to do that. Okay, yeah, I have done that. When you start putting those lists together, because purposeful work, we do it for many, many hours. It's got to matter. It's got to count. And as we've seen with a lot of different, a lot of times it is just business, right? And the companies don't, depending on what's going on, they're going to let people go. They're going to make different decisions that they need to make. So that's why it's so, so important for you to think about you, your family, your mental health, your physical health, and everything when it comes to finding the right job for you. And that's the other thing that I work with, that I help with, is finding that blend and finding that balance. Because looking for a job is absolutely exhausting. It's depleting. It's so tiring. And after a while, you're like, okay, when's the breakthrough? When is it going to happen? I'm really tired about this. And I always, whenever I would speak with groups and talk with people and just try to encourage and say that, if I know a lot of them are ghosting, like they're not even responding, right? Or then it's like, okay, we went with another candidate. And in a lot of instances, I've been working with clients that have put together projects. They have done all these different things just to be told, yeah, sorry, we're going this other direction. And they poured a lot of hours and time into that. So it's just remembering when those moments come, just to sit still and don't let it define you in any way, shape, or form, because it doesn't. And at the end of the day, I always call it sheer protection. If you didn't make it, then this company culture, the company, it would not have been a good fit. And continue to power forward, because that's the important part. I think one thing that I do tell people that I feel is really, really important is, if you need to take a break, take a break. So, you've been applying, you've been looking for jobs. If you need to take a break, it's okay. If you need to take a couple days and not look at a single job board, don't check LinkedIn and see if there was a message. Just don't do it for just a couple days. If you're able to do that, just sit and be still. Go do something that you enjoy. If you're able to do that, because I think it's important to disconnect and unplug periodically through that job search.
Why is that? Why is it?
What I have found, even for myself, someone talked from personal experience, but then even working with clients. So I just had one today, and he said, I'm sorry, I'm just so depressed. I'm in a tough spot, and and I said, you know what, are you able to just take a break? And he had to think about it a little bit, and he was like, yeah, I could take probably a week, a couple weeks or whatever. And he was in that spot to be able to do it. I said, then take a break. Don't look at it. What's something you could do? And he's like, well, there's this room I wanted to work on, and go work on the room. Shift that mind, shift everything into it, because when you come back to the job search and the work that you're looking for, you'll be refreshed. You'll look at it different. You probably have some new ideas, some new approaches. I've seen it work. And he actually messaged me today and said, yeah, officially, let's take a break, and then I'll be back. I just don't want to look at anything. I don't know if anyone in the group has tried something like that and taken a break. Okay. How's that felt to do that?
Horrible and wonderful at the same time. It's a great feeling to totally unplug when we had jobs, we wanted to unplug from the job.
Mhm.
And I'm in HR too, so on my weekends, I don't wanna see people, I don't wanna talk to people. I
Yeah.
don't care what the problems are. So, but disconnecting, taking a break now, like for 2 weeks over Christmas, I didn't do any job searching.
Mhm.
Just unplugged, had a
Mhm.
foster dog and just focused on the dog and nothing else. It was wonderful. The horrible part was the worry of, okay, what am I looking at today? What am I not getting done today? What am I gonna come back? I'm gonna miss all these job postings. So it's good and bad.
Is, and that's, I mean, that's valid, and I get that, and I know you're gonna have those feelings. But when you got back to it and you started going into the job search, how did you feel?
Probably a little bit more sane. Yeah. And I still do that on the weekends, like I'll take a whole 24-hour period, not even look at my email or anything.
Okay, good, because that's the other thing that I encourage any of the clients I work with is I'm a huge fan of time boxing. Whatever you do at work, right? You schedule your meetings, you schedule your break, whatever it is you schedule. Do the same thing with the job search. Okay, that way you're not, because I mean, I don't know about you, but sometimes I can just go down a rabbit hole. I can sit in LinkedIn, you can look at it, all of a sudden you started at 9, it's 2 o'clock. Oh my gosh, because you're looking at this, this, and this, and this, and then you're looking at the company, then you did. So I always tell people, block your time. So in the morning, you may say, okay, 9 to 11 o'clock, strictly networking. I'm going to reach out to some connections on LinkedIn, grab some coffee with someone, whatever that looks like for you. Then go ahead and schedule yourself a break. Then go ahead and say, you know what, I'm going to do job search for 2 hours during this time period. You may set aside some time to research companies that might be a really, really good fit that might align with who you are. What would be some really, really good companies? What kind of opportunities they have? Do they have the ones that I'd be interested in? Break up your day and then have your cutoff. Okay, I'm going to stop at 5. I'm going to stop at 6, whatever your schedule happens to look like. And then I like your idea. I usually say on weekends, just don't. When it comes to applying for jobs, I always tell people, and again, this is when I was recruiting, this is what I found worked best was Tuesday through Thursdays. And you you submit your resume generally before 10 or 10:30 in the morning, right? Because the weekend, everybody's, applying for jobs. They're not looking at that for the most part. Mondays, they're in the office. They're trying to get caught up, recruiter stuff. Fridays, they're trying to get caught up and go into the weekend. So that Tuesday to Thursday, I've found, has always been a really good time to go ahead and apply for those jobs. So you can kind of do your schedule during the week to mirror something like that. But on the weekends, take your break. On the evenings, take your break. Family, friends, hobbies, whatever it is you can do, find that balance and stick to it because it's important. And when you schedule, like I was saying, and breaking up your day, at the end of the day, you can look and see what you were able to do. I usually tell people to keep spreadsheets. So any of the jobs that you applied to, go ahead and put the job title, put who you sent it to, put the date. You can kind of start to track and see, okay, these are the different companies that I applied to. You can see what you've been working on.
So
yeah.
when people use words debilitating, disappointed, distraught, and I think a lot of it has to do, we were talking about this, by the way, wow, I mean, you get like the last 6 weeks, we talked about different stuff that you talked about in your intro, that's you. But anyway, yeah, because people say, well, if I list my house, somebody's gonna buy it.
Mm-hmm.
Might be a week, might be 3 months, but it has value.
Mm-hmm.
Someone will buy it. Mm-hmm. Same with my boat, same with this, same with that. A lot of people, the first time, they go to the door over here, that they've had their value questioned. Like, nobody's calling me back. I'm losing, pieces of me by the week, because this is now, wait a minute, I don't have that. You know what your value is. And the person on the other side, hopefully that you get linked to somehow, whether it's electronically want that. Because we're not, you know, anything, people are not, it's not a quantity of one. Nobody is, somebody wants somebody to
Yeah.
do something that you do,
Mhm.
right? Or that you know how to do, you hadn't been doing lately. Or
Mhm.
that you could do if you had to, or whatever, you had to modify, like you say, your transfer. And I think that I used an example one time at a podium. You know, there goes the company and I'm trying to hang up with, I don't know what's up.
Right.
You know, and that's still, even after the podium's gone, the lights are out, it's still like, wait. And that's why you hear those kinds of more extraordinary types of, I'm lost.
Mhm.
I feel valueless, you know, stuff like that comes right out of people's mouths,
Mhm.
right?
It does.
And I think that that's, you know, part of it. They cannot engage. It's frightening. You cannot engage your current value. You know, if people won't talk to you. You don't have a chance to tell your story,
Mhm.
right? Now, if I can go a little bit more.
Oh, yeah.
See, your stories were, everybody in here took a very, their limbic brain went to work and endorphins started going, and everybody listened to your stories. They made sense, you know, and they were very transitional. And the reason that you have certain habits that you have today is because you're a woman, things like that. That's what employers want to hear.
Mhm.
They want to hear the way you talk, and you've been doing it. It's very fluid. There was a high point in every story, purpose, and every little anecdote or narrative or whatever it is you want to do it. And that's why I say it hits so many points that we talked about communication, verbiage, and how you make word choices, make people want to know more about you, all those things like that. Be more wanted, be more desired,
Mhm.
that kind of thing. So it was all, you know, but that was a thing that I thought, you know, thinking about. That's the one thing that people have the biggest problem with, myself included, is what am I worth? You know, I'm worth what somebody else paid me.
Mhm.
No, that's not right. That doesn't include, you know, my kids and grandkids and all that, so. That's the real, you know, side of worth, right? How much can I make a month? That's a different question,
Yeah.
right? But for most, it's all one big jumbled thing. If you can separate that, you know, that's very helpful. If this is where your value is where your salary is, or your
Mhm.
revenue, or whatever you want to call it. And you have to also, you know, respect that, right?
Right on.
Money's the root of all evil as
That-
well.
Got
So that's good stuff that you're going through, and I think that should be helpful.
I think, can I
Good.
just comment on that? What you were saying about taking a break, it reminds me of ties with what you said, when you're so focused on that next job,
Mhm.
you forget the rest of, you know, it's a pie chart, my little engineering brain. This is my focus, but all the rest of this is worthy. Forget to look at all the rest.
Very, very much so. It's, I love, the movie, I don't know if y'all have seen it or not, Eat, Pray, Love is one of my favorites. And one of the scenes I like is she's in Italy with all her friends. And, they were talking about their word. What's your word? And I said, what's your word, Liz? And she, you know, they were thinking and she said, I think mine is writer. He goes, no, that's what you. And he goes, what's your word? And she had actually think about it, you know, she had to think about who she is and what was her word going to be. And that's a big thing when I'm working with clients, and what I share with them is, what's your story, right? And sometimes you may see LinkedIn posts and different people share, okay, know your why, know your story, and this, but it's really important. And I apologize, I didn't get your name.
I'm Jordan.
Jordan, okay. So I heard you talking about it a little bit. You said you started writing all your accomplishments and all the different things that you had done, you know, and after you completed that, what'd you say? I think it was 5 pages.
Yeah,
5 pages. How did you feel when you wrote all that?
I guess pretty good. Well, and some of it was like maybe venting some frustrations I had.
That's cool.
but it felt pretty good to like, oh, I got it out, and then, yeah, I had it sitting for a while, but I was editing that this morning and refining it and taking different parts of it and putting it to interview questions.
Yeah.
Yeah, just kind of thinking through that helps. I think one thing I wish I did that I would do at the next job is when like a story happens or like something eventful happens, I'll write it down, that way I have more detail,
Yeah.
more.
Yes.
Journal.
I'll remember it, yeah, so I have to start journaling. So
Good. I
that's
tell
something I
people,
started.
I do tell people do it, keep a career journal and jot down those successes, those ideas you came up with, those things that happened. But when you said it, I was like, oh, that's what I'm gonna talk about. That's so amazing. So you're already doing it. It's your story. Every single person in the room has one. You have a great story. You have things you've experienced. You have that foundation of, at the end of the day, why did you choose to do the work that you did? Why did you choose the different paths that you took? What took you there? I didn't have a clearly defined path in any way, shape, or form. And there were some risks in there, you know, come on, I'm a singer natural. But still, you all have a story. I guarantee it, you all do. And so I think as you prepare, even when I'm preparing people for interviews and even for the initial job search, because I'm working with a lot of people in layoffs, I'm like, let's start this off with thinking about your story. What is that? Who are you? What is it that you want? What is it that you've accomplished? Your past, what did you learn from any challenges or even failures you had? Because if you succeeded at absolutely everything, you can't always grow. The failures are what boost you, and you grow and you learn and you flourish and you change because of those things. So tell me about those. Do what Jordan did. Write it all down, right? You can put it in your head, but when you write it out to the universe and you're putting it on a piece of paper, there's something very powerful to that. Cathartic. I mean, I think it is. I think it's just really good. So I usually have a lot of people do that. Then the next step is, don't look at job descriptions, don't compare it, don't do anything. Create your own job description. Okay. So you're looking for a new job. You're heading out there. Create your own. What would you want to be doing? What do you want that to look like? What kind of job responsibilities? Do you want to lead a team? Do you not want to lead a team? What kind of company? What does that company look like? What does that company value? Create it. You can even put a list, because I've had some clients going, oh, I'm going to create a list too of things I'll never do again. I said, do that too. Make that list of stuff you'll never do it again. You know, I've had people say, I'm not going to be on call ever again, or I'm not going to, you know, have people message me at 10 o'clock at night and be expected to respond. I said, then write it down. Okay. Write it down. And I think that is the most important thing, just to start off when it comes to that. That's kind of that part of the discovery that I call it. Just find out who you are, and then find out which direction you want by starting with that job description. Because then as you start to look at roles, as you start to identify and strategize that job search, you can look at what those expectations are of the role, and you can look at what you wrote down. You can compare that and you can say, oh no. Or you can look and go, this actually would be such a great fit, right? And it just kind of helps in that process, as well as branding, right? It's your own personal brand. LinkedIn is your own personal website and your brand, right? What is that saying about you? What is that communicating to you? Because that's where everybody's going at the end of the day. When you apply for a job, they're going to go look at LinkedIn. They're going to see what you have on there. What does that look like? What about in the about section? Are you using as many parts of LinkedIn that you can, right? To really sell yourself. I work with people in tech, or, you know, and I'll say, some of them have created apps. Are you featuring them? Are you showing them? You know, if people are working, have art, have blogs, have articles, are you sharing those? You putting those publications out there? Again, it's a great billboard for you to use. So I always encourage people to do that. And then networking, right? I don't, everybody has different ways that they're networking. LinkedIn is such a great way to do it. It's a really helpful way to do it. And one way to do it is in the posting of commenting on different people's pages, right? Commenting, identifying what I mentioned before, researching, targeting those companies, following those pages, and then commenting on those pages. right? Because again, it's increasing your visibility because you have your network. Well, now you are in front of a whole nother network that would otherwise not see you. And then they see your headline that you've created, which I think is important, because that's what's drawing them to your page, whatever that happens to say. So that's why the headline's important. What could you say that's going to get people's attention? I've had people, you know, get really, really creative. And I think it's the coolest thing. I think one of my clients, he was a choreographer of rock music machines, because that's what he did. He did stage work. And I thought that was cool. And it got my attention. I was like, I love it. You know, so something creative or, you know, anything that you can think of to get people's attention, get them to click on there. There's different groups that you can join on LinkedIn as well. So look for groups, for example, HR, tech, there's different tech, IT groups, there's different, you know, it could be finance, whatever it happens to be. Get into those groups, find, you know, speak with other people that are, you know, going through the same thing you're going through, or they know of opportunities that would be of interest to you. So that's a really, really helpful one. One other thing I always like to throw out there, while you're in the job search, is I always encourage people to volunteer your time somewhere. If you're working and you're looking for a job, I mean, I don't know what your time would look like, but if you're not, and you're in between and you're seeking employment, go ahead and block some time where you can volunteer somewhere. Nashville's full of amazing nonprofits that could truly use your help and your gifts and talents, as well as you never know who you're going to meet. You never know who
Also
you're
a good gap.
Yeah.
You know, if you're gonna volunteer from the job that you lost to the job that you take, that's all your, the gap's not as gappy, you know.
Yeah, it's just a really, and when I was at Salvation Army, I actually hired 4 people that volunteered. So
Yeah.
because I saw they were committed to it, they were great workers and whatever. So when these job openings came open, I knew exactly who I talked to. So that stuff can happen as well. So I do like to put that out. And plus, again, it's giving you, it's filling your time as well, so that you don't have those opportunities to just kind of sit and be like, I don't know when that breakthrough's happening. I don't know when it could happen. You're able to, you know, you're able to fill that time. I'm not going to say that those feelings don't happen. They're going to, and they're valid. And like you said, all the D's, some of those words, but it's true. And I try to, when clients say that to me, which they do, and they're just like, I just don't know what to do. I really try to reshift that and say, okay, what do you know to do? Let's talk through that. What do you know? Okay, you don't know what to do about what? Well, I don't know what to do. Okay, let's talk through what you do know. And then they'll start talking through, and then it starts leading to other things, and it leads to other things. And I've had one person in talking with them, they're like, I think I'm actually gonna start my own business. I think now I know exactly what I want to do. And we got into this conversation because, again, it's shifting that mindset, because your brain will hold you hostage. Okay, it just will, and it'll grab hold, and you'll have to shake it off. But you have to be so intentional when you're feeling that coming on, and acknowledge it. Okay, because it's valid to feel all these emotions and feels that everybody has, right? Acknowledge it and say, okay, yeah, this is tough. I'm really tired. If I get one more rejection letter, like, I'm just gonna, you know, wall. But say, okay, but what can I do that's positive right now in this moment? Like, acknowledge, and then say, where can I shift this energy? Because versus letting it hang and absorb you for the rest of the day. What can I accomplish? Even if it's 3 loads of laundry, even if it's, you know, just think of a project, even if it's like, okay, I'm gonna go hike 3 miles. I'm gonna go do this, whatever it is, reshift that energy. I really, really encourage that, because if you don't, it will completely take you over. I mean, it's tough. I know it's really, really tough.
I've got a question. Are there any remote volunteer opportunities you can share? Don't have a vehicle and not in a position to borrow one right now.
So I would say to go to Hands on Nashville, HON.org, and type in that you strictly want, you're looking for remote opportunities, and I guarantee you if they're to be had, they'll be found there. They're a great resource. Okay, does anybody have any questions?
Thank you, very insightful.
Anybody on Zoom?
It's really good.
Amanda, can you talk more about your reframing strategies? I think you called it something different. But you change, you reframe
Yeah.
the situation, you change your,
Just,
basically.
yeah, because I mean, we're human. And I do it. I mean, we've all, in the position where you're just like, I mean, it's difficult. It's an emotional roller coaster. I've been there too, as I was looking for a job in between and finding it. It was, it was just difficult. And I knew what I knew, right? And I know my skills, just like everybody in this room knows your skills. You know what you
What if you
possess.
don't know your skills? Like, I think that's one of the places I need to start. What do what do I have of value? I remember Don was talking about that. I don't know what somebody is gonna want, I don't also want to be a chameleon. And, split myself inside and out just to, okay, I'll do that to get your job.
So if I meet you on an elevator, you have a couple minutes between floors. Tell me who Kim is.
I'm a nurse, I sell software. I don't think that's what I want to do.
Why did you
anymore.
get into nursing?
I love science. I love science.
What about science do you like?
It answers the why question. I was that kid. Why? Why was the sky blue? Why was the grass green? And it helped answer so many, and I could see so many of the problems occur and then get solved. And I love that's science right there. That's why.
What are your top 3 things that you do well in science and as a nurse?
I have to think on that. I have to think on that.
Top 1 thing, just one.
Just
What do you think you're really, really good at? You've sharpened it over the years.
Right?
Processes.
Processes.
Yeah.
You're good at processes.
And seeing where this would flow to this, would flow to this, would flow to that, would flow to that.
So you like processes, process improvements, streamlining things. Okay, so there's something that you're good at. There's some value.
And science.
Mhm. You love science, and we can continue to unpack and go through the science. And what drove you since you said you were a little girl?
Oh, yeah. Oh,
Okay,
yeah.
we
My
would
mom's
just
crazy.
explore and go through that. All of a sudden, you'd be like, shh, you'd have all these values coming up out of the boot. Because at the end of the day, it has to be about you. It has to be
You have
about
to
what
feel
you
it, too.
value, and you have to feel it, and you have to know it. And sometimes you just have to go backwards.
Yeah.
A lot of times I talk to people and go, tell me in high school, what did you like to study? What did you enjoy? Even if you're far cry from it or different pathway, let's just go back to that. And then we'll start to move forward. And all of a sudden you start rattling off all these different things and these passions and things that are exciting. But we got to talk about process improvement, processes, and how you like that. And you're good at it. There we go.
Thank you. Thank you.
And you got a bunch more where that came from.
I'm sure.
It's a, process improvement of, nurse and, I know how to, sell software.
Yeah, that was just, I was like, I
Question
don't.
back there.
Yes.
Here, and I can tell you all the. But if I was hiring someone,
Mhm.
I would rather know. Are you passionate? Are you hardworking? Are
Mhm.
you creative? Like the personality part of it, and the
Mhm.
rest is, if you don't know, we can get there.
Yes.
Soft skill kind of thing.
Yep.
More of a character, like, if you're not built for numbers, don't do numbers.
Right.
I'm not built for crossword puzzles, so don't do crossword puzzles, but can you do a resume that's more about attitude and character with a little bit of technical? Because I tend to just do the bullet list, like create this.
Well,
Very dry.
yeah, I think you can do a nice blend of both, because really with that resume, you don't want to list every single responsibility that you have under that role. I think it's really important to do high level, like some projects that you worked on, accomplishments that you've had, a few of the responsibilities that you've had. But I think, like, for example, in the professional summary, I think you have that opportunity to kind of really speak to who you are, what you're passionate about, what you're excited about. Same thing with the cover letter. Some people use them, some people don't, but it can be a great way, especially if you're changing careers. I have found that there's ways that you can word that to really say, hey, while I've enjoyed success, I'll use this nursing, for example, while I've enjoyed success as a nurse for 15 years, the thing that I get most passionate, excited about is working with people. But I'd like to do it in whatever format it is, whether it's coaching or whether it's in, a different type of industry. So you're pinpointing your success, but you're making it very personable. I love to see stories in cover letters, and when I'm writing them for people, I try to paint that picture of that story. I had one that I worked on for a veteran, and he wanted to do a job to work with veterans. And I just said, let's just be real. Just put it out there. Where's your heart? Why do you want to do this for veterans? Well, I served here and this, then let's put that in there. And let's word that in such a way. Because at the end of the day, you do want a cover letter and a resume that stands out, that doesn't look like it was, copy and pasted from something else, just to, okay, let's get it done. That's why it's important to tailor them for each of the roles, because, so you're using those keywords, you're really emphasizing and showing the engagement and the role engagement in the company and so forth. But yeah, put you in it, make sure.
Another little subcategory is I don't want the job I had last month that was the 50-hour week.
Mhm.
I need something that's flexible. I don't want to waste their time or my time, not something that I can have a little flex. Sit back and stuff there. But I don't want to say that right up front, because I don't want to miss out on opportunity.
Exactly. You want to kind of see how it is, and there's different questions that you can ask in the interview process. There's a lot of different questions I share with clients that they can use to ask and find out, to give you a snapshot of the culture, how leadership is going to be. From there, you'd be able to tell, okay, walk me through, could you answer how work-life balances or blend or integration, whichever they want to use. What does that look like? Because you do up front want to know what they expect. What do you expect of this role? What's 30, 60, 90 days from now? Are you looking for this role? How is work rewarded? It's a good question. I want to see how quick they answer that. They start to hem-haw around and be like, man, they're not going to reward me. Yeah, you get Saturday and Sunday off if you're like me. So there's just different questions that you can ask. There's nothing wrong with that. And I always tell people too, when you do secure that job, start setting those boundaries right away. Like right away. Don't wait, because they're harder to break later. So set those boundaries, make it clear, hey, I'm not going to respond to texts after 7 o'clock. Please don't reach out to me at Sunday at 2 o'clock. Okay. Short of a medical doctor and someone's life is in danger. Like and a lot of our jobs, that's just not the case. So it could wait till Monday. If there's a life in danger, it's usually what I tell my clients. If there's a life in danger, okay, answer the text. Other than that, it can wait. It really, really can. And I know, and I've been around, I've seen different managers where they're rattling off 10 emails on a Saturday night. Okay. So set that boundary, so they know ahead of time, okay, guess what? All right, Kim at 7 o'clock, she is not going to answer that email. We'll talk to her on Monday. You can send it. You can send me 20. I will look at it Monday. But set it early, because you're 6 months down the pike and you decide I can't handle this anymore. And it's a harder habit to break with other people who are still used to texting and emailing you and calling you every 5
it sounds
seconds.
like you're not doing your job when
Exactly.
you were fussing over.
Exactly.
Anyway,
And it's not sustainable. It's tiring.
Right.
Because all of you deserve your private personal time as well. So it's super important.
Well, he just wanted to watch the Thursday night football game and get drunk and lay out Friday, and then send everybody notes on Saturday. What's wrong with that?
Okay, what do you think of the ATS? What do you tell people about the scanning system when you apply for jobs?
All the time.
Applicant preferences.
Yeah, you have to have certain words in your resume, in your application that match the job description. And so it's scanned and there's a certain percentage, and it might be, you need the word sales 12 times and you've only got it one. So isn't that the way it works? Johnstown.co is a subscription you could have to do your own.
Yeah, I mean, it's looking for keywords. I always tell people, please don't fill up your entire resume with every keyword known to man, because that doesn't work either. And I've had people ask me, well, can I just put keywords at the bottom and white it out? And I said, no, that doesn't work. The biggest thing is literally when you're searching for a job, it is a full-time job, right? I mean, you're working, you can put, like, for example, pull a job description you really, really like. Go through it and see how many times they're listing particular skill sets or particular things that they're looking for. Those are the words that you would then put in your resume. Now, your company may call something a job responsibility. They may call something different. You can flip it and just use that terminology.
Right.
It's the same thing. As long as you're not fabricating, you're not saying something that you never did. But a lot of companies I've noticed, they just have different terminology, same type of work or same job. So if they're saying you so you can do things like that. But literally you have to go line item by line item in a job description. You can't go fast. You got to take your time and go through it. The other thing I say as well is when you go through the qualifications, for example, even if you find 2 or 3, please apply for it. Don't let it hold you back at all. Don't do that. Because, and I've had clients say the same thing. They're like, yeah, but I couldn't do this. Okay, how many could you do? Well, I could do about 8 of them. Then apply. Okay, some of those things I guarantee you, because I think one of them might have been it was some kind of it was tech, and it might have been Python, or it was one of the okay, that they didn't know. They had dabbled, but they didn't know. And it's okay, could you do everything else? Well, yeah, okay, I think you could learn it. There's different courses you could take, and enough that you could be irritable, you could quickly learn it, right? So I never want somebody to rob themselves of maybe a great opportunity because they didn't think they were good enough, they didn't have the skill sets. Because a lot of times when we look at those job descriptions together and unpack it together, they're like, oh my gosh, I could do this job. Yes, you could. And then of course the famous imposter syndrome that they'll share. So a lot of people with the imposter syndrome, they feel like they're there under false pretenses. They can't do this job. I'm gonna, and it's a valid emotion and a feeling, but I tell them, okay, what's an imposter? It's deceit, okay? Deceitfully, intentionally, you're imposing, you're being an imposter, you're pretending to be something you're not. Did you come into this job in that way? No. Okay, can you do this job? Yeah, okay, you're not an imposter. Okay, now you may want to perform well, you may want to do a great job, you may, that's fine and that's valid, but you're not an imposter. You're not deceitfully, intentionally going in and pretending to be something you're not. You secured the job and that's not what you're trying to do. And just kind of, again, it's flipping that mindset and remembering you can do the job. Everybody can do more than they even think they can once you start thinking about it and go through your skills.
So when you're talking about that whole list of qualifications, I'm envisioning that sometimes management says, let's just put absolutely everything down that we want to be perfect, knowing that there is no perfect, and then no one applies. Does that happen?
Yeah, sometimes it can, and that's why I'm saying when you see 2 or 3 that you're like, oh no, maybe I can't. If you can do the rest, go for it. Because and so much of it, even in the interview, as you're talking with them, you can start talking to stuff and you start realizing, and they start asking questions, and it works. Even if you didn't know some of those things, they find out what you do know. And again, at the end of the day, that's what you leverage. You always focus more on what you do versus what you don't.
Right. My mom used to say, tell them what you can do, not what you can't. First.
On that same vein is, how do you get around the requirement for an advanced degree when you have years of experience that would be the equivalent?
And that's a really, really good question. Again, leveraging what you do have and what you do know. Based on that job description, what it is that they're requiring of that role, that's what you can use your professional summary for in your resume, or even a cover letter is really highlighting. I've had one cover letter where it says, while I see you require an advanced degree, I offer X, Y, and Z. And you can provide those examples, because again, that's what they're looking for. They're looking for different examples, then be like, oh, well, okay, we could talk to, this is definitely worth a call, or this is definitely worth a conversation.
That helps, Suzanne.
Yes, that helps a lot. Thank you very much.
Good.
So is there a rule of thumb that you would use if you were talking to a client, said, when you're looking at these things, if they're 75% or more, go for it. I mean, I'm trying to put a numeric.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, if you can do a majority of the job, if it feels right, if it'd be fulfilling and great role, it aligns with who you
Right.
are, what you want to do,
Right.
kind of again, referencing that job description you created for yourself, then why wouldn't you?
Well, it's like you said, you never know.
You
You
really
can
don't.
meet someone in the parking lot on your way. I mean, I'm a big believer in that kind of stuff. If you're open to, if you've got your eyes wide open.
Very much
you
so.
never know.
I got my bachelor's degree in 2018. I've been getting jobs that required a bachelor's degree.
Yeah.
And because I leveraged what I knew, I leveraged what I had. It took me forever to get my degree, but I finally got it. But thank you. But then again, I leveraged what I knew.
And that also leads into why the networking is so important.
Mhm.
Because on these applicant tracking systems, everybody said, oh, I can do 2 out of 20 of these things, so I'm gonna apply. Right, so an employer is having to, filter through this, so if you're networking, then you've got a comrade who's bringing you to the attention of the hiring person, right? Who might then go in and look at your application in the applicant tracking system, but remember, you're one of thousands, so you've got to find ways around those tricks, because our people are really imposters that are,
Yes,
that are
yeah.
able to make their money.
Yes.
So what percentage of jobs, when you give them your resume, go through this ATS?
I'm sorry, say that
But
again.
it's like Indeed, okay, Indeed is an applicant tracking system.
Okay, but when I
Okay.
send it,
So
the resume to someone, it's not automatically going into.
Correct.
you have to put it.
Yeah, so, and I always tell that, like, if you do have a connection, let's say you have a connection at a company and they're like, yeah, always make sure you apply before you talk to the recruiter, because they'll just ask you if you applied yet. So it's really, is that what you're asking? Because sometimes
I
for
think
people.
what she was asking.
It's two prongs. You get your data into the system
Mhm.
through the applicant tracking system, but then you network to say, hey, my data's in there and I'm the perfect person, but you've got to get someone telling you.
So I'm looking at a job posting. and
Yes.
a resume, that's not the ATS.
No, that's it.
Yeah, it is,
Yeah.
it is. If you,
Part of it, no. But like my company,
It hasn't gone there yet.
Some companies don't use them.
that's my question.
Okay, yes, some companies do.
more and more,
That
I
maybe,
mean, I would say. a
probably
company that's
75 or not.
Yeah, not gonna have any.
and that's true, they don't,
Yeah.
it will go to
They'll
the
use
HR
Indeed.
department.
Yeah, they'll use a third
But there'll be somebody, Joe's gonna read my resume, he's not gonna put it through a
You might
scanner.
not get
No,
those.
so,
You
so
won't read it till it's.
yeah, what they're saying is that, you go look online on LinkedIn, and there's X, Y, Z company, like, they have job A, you want to know how about it. So you follow the link, you put in your information on the computer, your name, date, where you're from, all this stuff. And then you submit that application, and they might even want you to attach a resume to that, so you get an electronic copy, you attach it, send it. Well, then somebody at that organization is gonna get that application, and maybe it's a recruiter that you've already found on LinkedIn that works there. Maybe you reach out through LinkedIn and send them a, hey, I applied for this particular job, or that person, that recruiter is your cousin's best friend. So you go and talk to them, and then you're handing them that resume to keep walking over. So you hit both sides of that, the electronic component and the human side of it.
But some companies do not, and it will go straight to an inbox for an HR person, that is true. Most of them are going through like Taleo, iCIMS, there's different companies that they use that kind of sort and scan, and the recruiter has to look in that system. Like they'll look and they can see all of your information,
Okay.
and then they can print it if they
They're
need
talking
to, they
about
can
the
email.
Joe.
If you're right, yeah, it's.
Joe's gonna get it, he's not gonna say, I'm not looking at this till I put it in
Mm,
my scanner.
right.
I mean, he may.
Joe-
There's
but-
nothing to like scan.
No.
So
No,
Don't,
I mean,
don't,
like. But something's picking up the keywords, right? tons of software.
It depends. It
Yeah.
depends. Your HR department can set that, the particular job parameters to,
Mhm.
hey, only three years on the last job, 3 years on the last two
Mhm.
jobs, or this experience. They can do keyword searches for that. But like, there's no, don't get stuck in the
Yeah.
myriad of
Alright.
the black hole grayness of ATS. That's just the software that takes in your resume and holds it.
Just so they
So
can.
it doesn't
yeah.
matter if it's Indeed or the company's paying
The
for a
inbox.
service. That, yeah.
Yeah,
Yes.
yes, it's a
Yes.
giant inbox.
Yes. Don't generally do that. I mean, yeah, they can do a mass, hey, let's.
I mean, can I just
Cut
put a
this-
secret code? I want a real person.
No.
Clearly, we got everyone's attention. So, and a lot of fantastic questions that you can continue on with, and be sure, you know, again, that you registered to the site so that you're getting notices about things, and this was fantastic. I mean, I get the feeling.
No, I appreciate it very much. This is great.
How do people get in touch with you if they wanna reach back out? for this?
Yeah, if you want to, it's, yeah, they can reach out. Sometimes they don't want to be bothered. I used to have people reach out to me on LinkedIn for jobs they were interested in. The first question a recruiter will ask is if they applied. So
Right.
make sure that you always apply before you reach out to the recruiter and say, hey, I just want to let you know I did apply for this, but I am interested in the company. I'm really excited about the product you offer. I just wanted to put my name out there. You could do that. Do pay attention though. Some recruiters on their page will say, please send me an email. Do not message me on LinkedIn. I have seen some that do that. So just yeah, look to that. But yes, sure.
All right, anything else, any other questions you guys?
Email address is amanda@hopeprovides.org.
Bill provide.
Hopeprovides.org. Yes.
I'm sorry, your last name one more time.
It's Amanda@hopeprovides.
No,
Oh,
your last.
McCroskey, MCCROSKEY.
Thank you.
You are welcome. Appreciate y'all.
And I just voted to stage county for a bit.
So awesome. What are the odds? Thank you, guys. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
No, sure.
So who are you for now? Okay. Got it. That's a. Got it. Okay. So how long ago did you leave? Oh, okay.
I've been working through, which is when you starting there.
Okay.
Things that I've done, my transitions.
I will see that. I love that. About the county skies. Like rebates, position practice. Like 80, like 3.